Welcome to a very special edition of People and Places with Pierce that we're calling a very merry People and Places with Pierce. We're here at Tryon Palace in beautiful downtown New Bern, where over the next 30 minutes we're going to take you inside the Governor's Palace, which is decorated as it would have been back in 1770, a time when New Bern was actually our state's capital. Now, I can't wait to get you inside there, but on top of that, we're also going to take you through some of your favorite holiday-themed People and Places with Pierce episodes. All right, so we got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. The Poulos family has been decorating their Outer Banks home for nearly 4 decades now. We take you now to the Outer Banks Christmas house.
Once you come over the hill, I feel like you're entering somewhere different.
You could see the glow from the Wright Memorial Bridge.
The Outer Banks isn't normally known for being a winter wonderland.
It looks beautiful and it has a lot of Christmas stuff.
Unless you come here.
We're still spreading the joy.
The Poulos family has been spreading joy.
Normally, we start in July.
With this larger-than-life Christmas display at their Kill Devil Hills home for nearly 40 years. It's a display that is lovingly known as the Outer Banks Christmas house.
One of them had mentioned that this was here when we told them we were coming down, so we decided to come check it out.
The display is well known in the Outer Banks, but it's also gotten some national attention.
HGTV. It started out with NBC Today show. I just told Alan, I've got some of the best lights you can see in all this country. I says, I think they're pretty cool. You might think they're pretty hot. Come see me.
That was in 2005 when this display was voted the best decorated home in America. That attention isn't the reason the Poulos family does it, though.
My wife and I both, when we grew up, we were military families. Christmas meant a lot to both of us. It was a family thing. We just started doing it. Really, we were doing it for our own children and didn't realize that they were going to come around and see all the lights.
One of the great things about this Christmas display is the fact that the fun doesn't stop outside. We're inside the room that Jim calls the family room. One of the big reasons why, this tree here behind me, it's made up entirely of stuffed animals that his kids and now grandkids have grown up with.
It's nice to be able to be out here and help them and actually be a part of it, like actually putting it together.
As long as the Lord gives me enough help to do it, I've got the children, they can back me up. And I honestly feel that so many people get so much joy out of it, I don't want to let them down.
They want to be able to make everybody else smile. And that's part of the reason they keep doing this every year.
This country's hurting right now, and we need a lot of joy.
Joy to the world.
I know we see over 1 million visitors.
Or at least to the million plus who've experienced the magic for themselves. Thanks so much to the Poulos family for having us out. As you probably noticed, they were still kind of setting things up when we were out with them. They say, though, that they kind of tinker around with things even after their display opens up on Thanksgiving Day. Now, there is good news. If you still want to see that, you still can. They're going to have their display going on through New Year's Day. Now, we're about to make our way inside of the Governor's Palace here at Tryon Palace, where we're going to get a first-hand look at their 18th century Christmas display. We'll have that for you, plus more of your favorite holiday People and Places with Pierce episodes, all when the very merry People and Places with Pierce continues next. Welcome back to a very merry People and Places with Pierce. We're now inside the Governor's Palace, which is beautifully decorated for the holidays as it would have been back in 1770. Now, one of the themes for this year's decorations is the 12 Days of Christmas. If you look above the door here in the entryway, we have the 2 turtle doves as well as 4 calling birds here surrounding parts of the entryway as well. Now, one decoration you will not find here in the entryway of the palace is a crab pot Christmas tree. Those would come a number of years later, of course. But they have quickly become a coastal favorite. We get the story behind how they're made and how it got its start as a holiday tradition. As you deck the halls this holiday season, crab pots probably aren't at the top of your decorating list, but maybe they should be.
Well, it's a crab pot tree.
It's a simple idea, perfected by one man, Neil Harvey.
I was in the business
making trawls and crab pots for commercial fishermen. We just got an idea to cut some pieces of scrap that we had left over to hang there in the shop, and we started putting lights on them.
We get a first-hand look at how they're made.
Crab pot or crab trap wire, and that comes into us in rolls.
A lot of people don't know what it is, but this wire is treated with this coating on it so it lasts as long as salt water.
It's brought over to our cutting area. There are ultimately several panels for the tree that are made. And then from there, they go over to our department where we light the trees, and then they go to our shipping department.
It's an idea that didn't quite take off at first.
A lot of people were still hesitant, but we grew the business.
Well over 100,000 trees have been sent all over the U.S. and overseas since Harvey came up with the idea a decade and a half ago. Crab pot Christmas trees come in a variety of sizes, from 1.5 feet all the way up to 8 feet. Now, the big selling feature with these is the fact that once you're done with them for the season, they fold back nice and flat for easy storage.
You don't know how to take the lights off. You just open it up and pin it together, and the lights is on it.
The word love pops up so many times on Facebook comments on our site and letters that we get. People just fall in love with the tree.
It comes from the communities of the commercial fishermen. That's where they were made, started out being made, was in Davis.
And even after Harvey sold the business in 2009, crab pot Christmas tree making has stayed down east.
I thought that it was important because it was part of the tradition, the heritage of the tree.
So as you pull out your Christmas decorations this year, remember this: it doesn't get any more ENC than a crab pot Christmas tree. They sure are beautiful, aren't they? And speaking of beautiful, we continue our tour here through the Governor's Palace. We also continue with our 12 Days of Christmas theme. We have our partridge in a pear tree here on the staircase. Now, decorations back in the 1770s, they're a little bit different than what we're used to today, but of course, things still very elegant here. It is the Governor's Palace after all. Coming up, we continue our tour of the Governor's Palace here at Tryon Palace. Also, we'll have more of your favorite holiday people and places with Pierce, and we'll talk to one of the people responsible for putting this together here at Tryon Palace every year. Welcome back to A Very Merry People and Places with Pierce. We continue our tour through the Governor's Palace, which is all decked out for the holiday season, of course. But the decorations here, they're a little bit different than what you'll find up in Windsor. Triplet brothers Herman, Thurman, and Sherman Hager, they decorate their house with 500,000 Christmas lights every year. Truly is a sight to be seen, but the story behind why they do it will touch you even more than those 500,000 lights ever could. As the dog days of summer transition to the cooler days of fall.
Should have worn my short sleeve shirt today.
Well, the mostly cooler days of fall anyhow. The Hager Brothers of Windsor spring into action.
Say cheese, please.
We have triplets, Herman, Thurman, and Sherman. Herman, Thurman, and Sherman.
Herman, Thurman, and Sherman.
Or, if you can't quite remember who's who,
most people call us by the Christmas light man.
Why, you might ask?
Hold it tight, hold it tight. When everything is lit completely up, right over 500,000 lights.
5 electric meters and miles of cords and wires.
That's good.
Power one of the largest Christmas light displays in the East.
Everybody in this area know about Hager's Christmas.
You can see it, I know, from miles away.
It's a lot more than what everybody expects, and they really enjoy it.
Every year, like clockwork, with the flip of a switch, the Hager family Christmas light display comes to life. It's a year-round labor of love, one the family does for one specific reason.
It really got started in 1991. My oldest daughter, Carolyn, was involved in an accident. She skipped school one day and never came home. In 2006, I built the Angel, and my other two daughters with Jennifer and Nikki, and my wife, we all sit down and built little pieces of Christmas, and that's how we got started.
Christmas was Carolyn's favorite holiday.
We never forget her. It's a big relief for me. It gives me something to do. It keeps your mind off a lot of it, even though it's been quite a few years since my daughter passed away. You know, it's a therapy.
But perhaps the biggest gift of all is being an inspiration to others.
On the worst of days, we've had people come in here and tell us that I was so down today, but just coming in and seeing the glory that y'all give to us with the glow of all the lights, it picks my spirit up.
The brothers are getting older now, and with age comes the uncertainty of what lies ahead.
I'm sure the week I could depend on her that she would probably carry this on, but it's, you know, so it would have been a big job for her. But she loved it and was healthy enough to do it.
I'm hoping at least a couple more years before we call it quits, because we know that once we stop, the tradition will stop.
Shortly before she passed, Carolyn wrote a poem which states in part, "Now I know we must lead our lives apart, while keeping fond memories close to the heart. Remember me always with smiles and gladness. Regret not our meeting with tears and sadness. Forget me not." The glow of the lights shines brightly up to the heavens. Carolyn's spirit shines back just as bright. Next, we head over to Manio to the Elizabethan Gardens. Beautiful any time of the year, but with an extra special touch, just in time for the holidays. The Elizabethan Gardens in Manio are magnificent.
The garden itself is 10 acres.
It was created to create a style of garden that was similar to what you would find in the gardens around the palaces in Queen Elizabeth's castle and grounds.
But this time of year, the gardens take on a new light.
Winter Lights has been running for 6 years now.
It's 10 acres of beautiful, beautiful lights.
I couldn't even tell you the beginning of how many lights we have here. Our first year, we did it on a string and a prayer with just any outlet that we could find around this place.
Over the years, we've had to add electricity to the gardens. We've had to buy new lights. We had to really amp up our game so that the community would keep coming and keep enjoying it and really create something special.
The main attraction at Winter Lights is, of course, the beautiful light displays, but there are other activities to enjoy, warming up next to an open fire or toasting the perfect marshmallow.
There's some really cool touches that you just wouldn't expect to see at your normal Christmas display, but we like to give it that little extra flair of the 16th century.
It was really nice.
We try to keep a lot of our stuff to the Elizabethan time period, and you'll see things like the Queen's Court. You'll see gingerbread houses. Some of the lights in the gardens are choreographed to music, which is an exciting feature that we added this year.
It's evolved every year, and I would say that this year is finally, we feel like we got it right.
It's beautiful.
Everyone keeps reusing the word magical, so I would say it's a magical spot. We actually saw one lady down near the Virginia Dare statue, and she literally just stopped and looked up, and she's had her kids with her running rampant, and she's like, "Kids, just look. It's so pretty."
Pretty and fit for a queen.
It's really an experience for people to come through and see the million lights that we have up on our gardens here.
An experience that has quickly become an Outer Banks tradition. It is definitely worth the trip out to Manio to see that. Just make sure you have a jacket, gloves, and a hat with you. It gets pretty chilly this time of the year, especially with that wind out the Albemarle Sound. Well, we've made our way back outside here at Tryon Palace. Coming up, we're going to talk to Gardens and Greenhouse Manager Hadley Cherish. She's got more on what it takes to get this place ready for the holiday season. That and more when a very merry People and Places with Pierce continues. Welcome back to a very merry People and Places with Pierce. We're outside of Tryon Palace right now, and we're joined with Hadley Cherish. She's the Gardens and Greenhouse Manager here at Tryon Palace. Hadley, give us a sense for what you do, first of all, here at Tryon Palace.
Well, most of the year I spend a little more outside coordinating our gardens team that manages 16 acres of gardens and lawns over the site here at Tryon Palace. And then we switch off across the year into Christmas and other things about November.
Okay, yeah, so tell us what's involved with decorating for Christmas here at Tryon Palace.
So we end up starting about in August, I'd say. We do a lot of prep work across of our branches. Our costumer starts making costumes very early on. We have skits that we write, and we start our decorating the week before Thanksgiving. So we have a ton of volunteers who come in. This year we had Pritchett Interiors as our contracted decorators for the palace, as you see behind us. We had probably 50-some volunteers come in from locals, and they spent a total of, I think, 300 and some hours over 2 weeks with us.
We are here in front of the Governor's Palace. That, of course, is decorated to 1770, so it's a little bit different than we might be used to as far as Christmas decorations today. Let's go ahead and take a step back and kind of tell us what's sort of involved with what we have right here on the railing.
So you'll see that we've got our live garland up. This is a mix of the fir and the boxwood we use. We also add in some extras just to kind of make it keep a little longer. Our decorations stay up for about a month and a half. And so we've got some of our faux pine as well as some faux berries to give us extra long lasting color. But then we also use some of our native materials like this yarrow here and our pine cones that we end up spray painting gold to give them a little bit more texture and color. We also add in our preserved lemons, and then we have our faux lemons because we've had some fun experiences with live fruit. So.
I can only imagine.
Yes.
Well, Hadley, thanks so much for sharing a little bit with us about what it takes to kind of decorate Tryon Palace for the holidays. All right, so coming up, we'll have much more for you when A Very Merry People and Places with Pierce continues. Welcome back. We hope you've enjoyed this tour of Tryon Palace. It sure is a beautiful place, and it's even more magical this time of the year during the holidays. We also have to thank everybody here at Tryon Palace, which helped us put together this Christmas special. Chelsea, Kayla, and Hadley, and also Ryan here, who's closing up the gates for us as we speak. Speaking of closing things out, 2017 is quickly coming to a close, and we got a very special People and Places with Pierce planned for you to do just that. We're going to kind of recap the best People and Places with Pierce episodes from 2017 coming up on Thursday, December the 28th during our 5:30 p.m. newscast. You definitely do not want to miss that. Also have to thank our wonderful photographer Ken Roundtree, also our production team back at the station for helping to put this Christmas special back together. And thank you to you as well for spending your day with us, and I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and enjoy the rest of your holiday season. From New Bern, I'm Pierce Legion signing out. We'll see you again. Have a good night.